Ladies and gentlemen, there's something profoundly beautiful about a woman who has lived, loved, and endured. A woman in her old age is not just a reflection of the years gone by, she is the embodiment of wisdom, strength, and grace, standing tall in the face of life's storms. Imagine a life where solitude is not loneliness, but a sanctuary. A woman in her golden years walks into this sanctuary, not as someone who's been left behind, but as someone who chooses to walk ahead. Alone but unbroken, solitude becomes her greatest ally. In it, she finds her power, her peace, and a voice that had long been drowned out by the noise of the world. In her solitude, she reflects on her battles, the moments she cried in the dark, the sacrifices she made, the times she was underestimated, but through all this, she stood. Her silence now speaks louder than words. Her strength radiates from within. This is not the fragility of old age. This is the power of knowing who she is, beyond the roles she's played: mother, daughter, wife, friend. Solitude teaches her that she is enough. She's no longer seeking validation from the world because she's already validated herself. She's faced the pain, embraced the joy, and learned the art of self-compassion. The quiet moments are no longer her enemy, they are her greatest teachers. And in those quiet moments, she rediscovers herself. The dreams she once set aside now resurface, not as regrets, but as reminders of her resilience. The hobbies she never had time for become her passions. The world may see an old woman, but she knows she's still a creator, a dreamer, a fighter. This woman, standing in her solitude, is a beacon of inspiration. She doesn't need applause or recognition to affirm her worth. She's content with the knowledge that her presence, her journey, and her strength are enough. In her solitude, she finds not only herself, but the courage to embrace life as it comes, with all its imperfections. Life is a journey filled with unpredictable twists and turns, moments of joy and periods of adversity. Each of us carries a unique story, one shaped by the battles we've faced, the choices we've made, and the sacrifices we've endured. For a woman in her old age, these experiences are not mere memories of the past. They are the very foundation of her strength. They are the bricks and mortar of her identity, the silent proof of a life lived with courage and resolve. As the years pass, life's storms come and go. They arrive uninvited, shaking the ground beneath us, testing our resolve, and forcing us to grow in ways we never anticipated. For a woman who has lived through decades of such storms, there's a depth of character that cannot be denied. The trials she has faced have shaped her into a warrior, even if she doesn't see herself as one. They've etched lines of wisdom on her face, not as marks of age, but as symbols of the lessons learned through endurance. Think of the battles she has fought, the time she had to hold everything together when the world around her seemed to fall apart. Perhaps she was a mother raising children on her own, juggling work, responsibilities, and the weight of expectations without complaint. Or maybe she was a daughter who had to make sacrifices for her family, putting her dreams on hold to ensure the happiness of others. In each of these moments, she found the strength to carry on even when the odds were stacked against her. But strength doesn't always look like victory. Sometimes it looks like survival. Sometimes it's just about getting through the day, finding the courage to wake up and face whatever comes next. Life's storms don't just test our endurance, they reveal the depth of our character. For this woman, every tear shed, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt was a stepping stone to becoming Each storm left behind not just scars, but also a reminder of her ability to persevere. Strength isn't something that happens overnight. It's forged in the fire of adversity, tempered by the challenges we face. And for a woman who has weathered countless storms, strength is not an option, it's a necessity. It's what has carried her through heartbreak, loss, and moments of uncertainty. It's what has kept her standing, even when she felt like collapsing under the weight of it all. She didn't choose these battles, they chose her. But she chose how to respond to them. She chose to keep moving forward even when the road was unclear. She chose to believe in her ability to survive even when doubt crept in. And in doing so, she discovered a resilience she may not have known she possessed. Life storms also teach us about perspective. For a woman in her later years, the challenges she faced in the past often take on a different meaning. What once felt like insurmountable pain or hardship becomes a source of pride. She looks back and realizes that those moments didn't break her, they built her. They taught her how to adapt, how to find strength in vulnerability, and how to trust in her own resilience. There's also a quiet dignity in recognizing the strength that comes from these experiences. It's not about boasting or seeking recognition. It's about understanding that the trials she endured have made her who she is. It's about carrying herself with a sense of pride, knowing that she has faced life's storms and emerged on the other side, not unscathed, but unbroken. Her strength is not just for herself. It's an example for others. When the younger generation looks at her, they see someone who has walked through fire and come out stronger. Her story becomes a source of inspiration, a reminder that no matter how difficult life may seem, there is always a way forward. This strength, born from life's storms, is not loud or boastful. It's quiet, steady, and unshakable. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to be proven because it's self-evident. It's the kind of strength that comes from knowing you faced the worst and still found a way to rise. For her, these storms are no longer sources of fear. They are reminders of her resilience, proof of her ability to endure and thrive. Each challenge she faced has shaped her into the woman she is today, a woman who stands strong, not because she hasn't been through anything, but because she's been through everything and has come out stronger for it. Solitude is one of life's most misunderstood gifts. Too often, it is equated with loneliness, a state of emptiness or isolation. But solitude is something entirely different. It is a sanctuary, a sacred space where a woman can connect with herself, free from the expectations, demands, and judgments of the world. For a woman in her later years, solitude becomes not just a refuge, but a place of profound transformation. It allows her to hear her own voice clearly, undisturbed by the noise that has surrounded her for much of her life. Throughout her life, she has likely worn many hats and fulfilled countless roles. She may have been a caregiver, a partner, a professional, or a pillar of strength for her family. In each of these roles, she poured herself into others, often setting aside her own needs, desires, and aspirations. Her days may have been filled with endless responsibilities, leaving little time for reflection or self-discovery. But now, in the quiet of solitude, she finds something she might not have had the luxury of exploring before: herself. Solitude isn't about being alone. It's about being with yourself. It's about creating space to breathe, to think, and to reconnect with your essence. For this woman, solitude becomes a mirror, reflecting who she truly is beyond the roles she has played. It gives her the freedom to ask, what do I want? Who am I? Apart from what the world expects of me. In these moments, she begins to understand herself on a deeper level, rediscovering parts of her soul that may have been neglected or forgotten over the years. In solitude, she finds clarity. The constant noise of the outside world, the opinions, the distractions, the chaos, fades into the background. In its place is a stillness that allows her to process her thoughts and emotions without interference. This clarity is a powerful tool. It helps her make sense of her journey, to see the lessons in her struggles, and to appreciate the beauty of her triumphs. She learns that the answers she's been seeking have been within her all along, waiting to be uncovered in the quiet moments. This time alone also allows her to embrace self-compassion. In solitude, she can look back on her life without judgment. She can forgive herself for the mistakes she's made and the opportunities she may have missed. She learns to extend the same kindness and understanding to herself that she has so often given to others. This self-compassion is transformative. It replaces self-doubt with self-acceptance, enabling her to move forward with a renewed sense of confidence and peace. Solitude is not without its challenges. It forces her to confront herself in ways that can be uncomfortable. The distractions of the world no longer shield her from her fears, regrets, or insecurities. But these moments of discomfort are where growth happens. By facing these truths head-on, she gains a deeper understanding of herself and learns to let go of what no longer serves her. This process is not easy, but it is liberating. It allows her to shed the weight of the past and step into her future with a lighter heart. In the quiet of solitude, she discovers new passions and interests. The hobbies she once put aside now have space to flourish. The dreams she had long buried resurface, reminding her that it is never too late to pursue what sets her soul on fire. Solitude gives her the time and freedom to explore these passions, to create, and to simply be. She realizes that she doesn't need the approval or participation of others to enjoy life. She can find joy and fulfillment on her own terms. And solitude also teaches her the value of boundaries. In learning to enjoy her own company, she becomes more discerning about the people and situations she allows into her life. She understands that her time and energy are precious and that not everyone deserves access to them. This newfound sense of empowerment helps her cultivate relationships that are meaningful and enriching, while letting go of those that drain or diminish her. Through solitude, she finds peace, not the fleeting kind that comes from avoiding problems, but a deep, lasting peace that comes from truly knowing herself. She becomes comfortable with who she is, embracing her flaws and celebrating her strengths. This peace is unshakable because it comes from within, not from external circumstances or validation. Solitude transforms her perspective on life. She no longer sees it as something to be endured, but as something to be savored. The quiet moments become her greatest allies, helping her to appreciate the beauty in the simple things: a sunrise, a good book, the sound of the wind. She realizes that these moments are not empty. They are full of meaning and richness. In her solitude, she is not isolated. She is connected to herself, to her dreams, and to the world around her in a way that is authentic and fulfilling. The quiet becomes a source of strength, a reminder that she doesn't need the world's approval or companionship to feel whole. She has everything she needs within herself, and that realization is the foundation of her power. A woman's life is often defined by the roles she takes on. She is a mother, a daughter, a wife, a caregiver, a friend, a mentor. These roles are deeply meaningful and significant, but they don't encompass the entirety of who she is. For years, perhaps even decades, she may have been so consumed by these roles that she lost touch with her own identity. She poured herself into the needs of others, putting her dreams, desires, and individuality on the back burner. Yet, in her later years, she begins to understand something profound. She is more than the roles she has played. Her identity cannot be confined to the titles that society or circumstances assign to her. These roles are only fragments of the vast, intricate tapestry of her life. While they may have shaped her journey, they do not define her essence. She is a soul with unique thoughts, passions, and talents that extend far beyond the labels she has worn. And in rediscovering this truth, she finds a renewed sense of self-worth and liberation. There's power in stepping back and acknowledging that she is not just someone's something. She is not merely a mother or a wife or a friend. Those are parts of her story, yes, but they are not the whole story. Beneath these roles lies a woman who has her own dreams, her own voice, her own purpose. It is a realization that comes with time, as life slows down and the space for introspection grows wider. For so long, she may have felt that her worth was tied to what she could give to others. She found purpose in nurturing, supporting, and caring. And while these acts of love and sacrifice are beautiful, they can often come at the expense of her own needs. Over time, she might have forgotten what it feels like to focus on herself, to ask, what makes me happy? What brings me joy? Who am I when I'm not fulfilling a role for someone else? In her later years, she begins to peel back the layers, uncovering the woman she has always been underneath it all. She reconnects with her passions, those sparks of excitement that once lit up her life before responsibilities took over. Perhaps she loved to paint, write, travel, or explore. Maybe she once dreamed of starting a business, learning a new skill, or simply taking time to enjoy life's little pleasures. She spent the time in nature. In rediscovering these parts of herself, she realizes that they were never truly lost. They were just waiting for her to come back to them. This rediscovery is not about abandoning the roles she has played. It's about recognizing that she can honor those roles while also honoring herself. She can be a mother and still have her own dreams. She can be a friend and still set boundaries. She can be a caregiver and still take time to care for herself. In fact, by nurturing her own soul, she becomes better equipped to support the people she loves. This journey of self-discovery is not without challenges. It requires her to confront the fears and doubts that have lingered in the background for years. She may wonder if it's too late to pursue her own dreams, if she has the strength to step outside of the role she has known for so long. But with each step forward, she proves to herself that it is never too late to grow, to change, to become more fully herself. This transformation often comes with a newfound sense of freedom. For much of her life, she may have felt the weight of expectations, what she should do, how she should behave, who she should be. Now she realizes that those expectations are not her truth. She is free to define herself on her own terms, to live authentically and unapologetically. In this freedom, she finds a deep sense of peace. She no longer feels the need to prove her worth to anyone because she knows that her worth is inherent. It is not determined by how well she fulfills a role or how much she gives to others. It is determined by the simple fact that she is. She exists, she breathes, she dreams, and that is enough. This newfound sense of self doesn't just benefit her, it inspires those around her. When others see her embracing her individuality, they are reminded that it is never too late to prioritize their own happiness and growth. Her courage to step beyond her roles serves as a powerful example, showing that life is not just about what you do for others, but also about how you honor yourself. She begins to see life not as a series of obligations, but as an opportunity to explore, to create, and to simply be. The roles she has played will always be a part of her, but they are no longer the entirety of her identity. She is a whole person, multifaceted and endlessly complex, with a story that is still unfolding. And in embracing this truth, she steps into a future filled with possibility and self-discovery. Validation is something many of us spend our lives chasing. It's the pat on the back, the words of praise, the acknowledgement that tells us we've done well or that we are enough. For a woman who has spent much of her life in service to others, her family, her friends, her community, the need for validation can feel deeply ingrained. She might have sought it in the approval of her parents when she was young, in the recognition of a partner or employer in her adulthood, or in the gratitude of her children as they grew. But as time goes on, she comes to a powerful realization. Validation doesn't need to come from anyone else. It comes from within. This shift in perspective is transformative. For years, she may have tied her worth to how others perceived her. If her sacrifices were acknowledged, if her efforts were appreciated, if her presence was celebrated, she felt valued. But the reality of life is that not every sacrifice is noticed, not every effort is rewarded, and not every presence is cherished in the way it deserves to be. She begins to understand that relying on external validation is a precarious foundation for self-worth. It's fleeting, unpredictable, and often out of her control. As she matures, she realizes that the only validation that truly matters is her own. She begins to ask herself, am I proud of who I am? Am I living in alignment with my values? Am I honoring my own needs and dreams? These questions become her compass, guiding her toward a sense of fulfillment that isn't dependent on the approval of others. This journey towards self-vindication isn't always easy. It requires her to unlearn years, perhaps decades, of seeking external affirmation. She may wrestle with feelings of doubt or guilt, wondering if it's selfish to prioritize her own opinion over others. But as she grows more comfortable in her own skin, she begins to see that self-vindication is not selfish, it's necessary. It's about recognizing her own worth, regardless of what anyone else says or thinks. In learning to validate herself, she reclaims her power. She no longer needs to wait for someone else to tell her she's done a good job or that she's worthy of love and respect. She knows these things to be true because she has lived them. She has weathered life's storms, overcome challenges, and made countless sacrifices. She doesn't need a round of applause to affirm her value. She carries that knowledge within her. This inner validation brings a profound sense of peace. She is no longer chasing approval, constantly wondering if she's doing enough or being enough. She is free from the pressure to meet unrealistic expectations or to conform to someone else's idea of who she should be. Instead, she is focused on living authentically, staying true to herself, and honoring her own journey. This self-veneration also gives her the strength to set boundaries. When she no longer depends on others for approval, she feels empowered to say no to things that don't serve her or align with her values. She becomes more intentional with her time and energy, choosing to invest them in what truly matters to her. This might mean stepping away from toxic relationships, declining opportunities that don't feel right, or simply taking time for herself without feeling the need to justify it. By validating herself, she also deepens her sense of self-worth. She no longer measures her value by external markers like success, appearance, or the opinions of others. Instead, she measures it by how she feels about herself. She begins to appreciate the person she is, not just for what she does, but for who she is at her core. This shift allows her to embrace her imperfections, to see them not as flaws, but as parts of her unique, beautiful humanity. This newfound confidence radiates outward. People around her notice the change. There's a quiet strength in her presence, a sense of calm that comes from knowing her worth without needing anyone else to confirm it. Her ability to validate herself inspires others to do the same. She becomes a living example of what it means to live authentically and unapologetically, grounded in self-respect and self-love. End quote. Through this process, she discovers that self-conversion is not just empowering, it's freeing. It frees her from the endless cycle of seeking approval, from the fear of judgment, and from the pressure to prove herself. It allows her to live her life on her own terms, to follow her passions and to pursue what makes her happy without worrying about what others might think. She realizes that her journey is hers alone, and she is the only one who truly knows its depth and meaning. She doesn't need anyone else to validate her experiences, her choices, or her worth. She carries that truth within her, and it shines through in everything she does. Life has a way of testing a woman's endurance, pushing her to her limits, and sometimes leaving her feeling as though she has little left to give. Over the years, she may have faced a multitude of challenges, some small, others monumental, that required her to summon every ounce of strength she possessed. These challenges shaped her, defined her, and helped her grow. But through it all, she often prioritized others, giving her time, energy, and love freely. As she enters her later years, however, she begins to realize that one of the most important lessons in life is the power and necessity of self-care. Self-care is more than pampering or indulging in moments of relaxation. It is a profound act of self-preservation and self-respect. For much of her life, she may have thought of self-care as a luxury, something to be done only when all her other responsibilities were met. Perhaps she felt guilty about taking time for herself, fearing it would be seen as selfish or indulgent. But with age comes wisdom, and she begins to understand that self-care is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Taking care of herself allows her to replenish the energy she has so generously given to others. It's about recognizing that she cannot pour from an empty cup. She has spent years nurturing those around her, often neglecting her own needs in the process. Now she realizes that in order to continue giving, she must also receive, starting with herself. Self-care becomes a way to honor her own worth and to acknowledge that her well-being matters just as much as anyone else's. In embracing self-care, she learns to listen to her body and mind in ways she may not have before. She starts to recognize the signs of exhaustion, stress, and burnout. She pays attention to what her body is telling her, whether it's the need for rest, movement, or nourishment. She becomes attuned to her emotions, allowing herself to feel and process them without judgment. This heightened awareness is not just about maintaining her health, it's about cultivating a deeper connection with herself. Self-care also becomes an act of reclaiming her time. For much of her life, her days may have been dictated by the needs and demands of others. Now, she begins to carve out moments that are solely for her. Whether it's reading a book, taking a walk, practicing a hobby, or simply sitting in silence, these moments are sacred. They remind her that her time is valuable and that she deserves to spend it in ways that bring her joy and fulfillment. As she prioritizes self-care, she begins to set boundaries with greater confidence. She learns to say no without guilt, understanding that her well-being must come first. She becomes more discerning about how she spends her energy and who she spends it on. These boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about protecting her peace and ensuring that her relationships are balanced and healthy. Self-care also allows her to reconnect with the things that make her happy. Over the years, she may have set aside hobbies, interests, or dreams in favor of fulfilling her responsibilities. Now she has the opportunity to rediscover these passions, to reignite the spark of joy that comes from doing something she loves. Whether it's painting, gardening, writing, or dancing, these activities become a form of self-expression and a source of pure happiness. There's also a profound sense of empowerment that comes with embracing self-care. By taking control of her own well-being, she asserts her right to prioritize herself. She no longer waits for permission to rest, to heal, or to pursue her own happiness. She gives herself that permission, understanding that she is deserving of care and kindness, especially from herself. Self-care transforms her relationship with herself. It fosters self-compassion, allowing her to treat herself with the same love and understanding she has shown to others. She becomes more forgiving of her mistakes, more patient with her growth, and more appreciative of her journey. This shift in mindset helps her build a stronger foundation of self-worth, one that is not dependent on external validation, but rooted in her own sense of value. As she embraces self-care, she also inspires those around her to do the same. Her commitment to her own well-being serves as a reminder that taking care of oneself is not selfish, it is essential. She shows others that self-care is an act of strength, one that enables her to show up fully and authentically in all areas of her life. Through self-care, she finds balance. She learns to navigate the demands of life without losing herself in the process. She understands that she is not defined by how much she can endure, but by how well she can take care of herself along the way. This realization is both freeing and empowering, allowing her to live with greater peace, joy, and authenticity. As life unfolds and the years stack upon one another, a woman begins to understand that the rhythm of her days is hers to dictate. For much of her earlier life, she may have felt bound by the schedules, demands, and expectations of others. Time seemed to slip through her fingers as she juggled responsibilities, met deadlines, and cared for loved ones. Yet, as she grows older, she discovers the freedom of setting her own pace. This realization is not just a shift in how she moves through life, but a profound change in how she experiences it. The concept of her own pace is deeply personal. It is not dictated by society's insistence on constant productivity, nor is it shaped by the urgency that others might impose upon her. It is a rhythm that feels natural to her, a balance of action and stillness, of movement and rest. She learns to embrace the idea that life is not a race, nor is it a checklist to be completed. Instead, it is a journey to be savored, one moment at a time. In the past, she may have felt the pressure to keep up with others, to match their speed, their achievements, their milestones. She may have compared herself to friends, colleagues, or even strangers, measuring her success by how quickly she was progressing through life. But with age and experience comes wisdom, and she begins to see that comparison is a thief of joy. She realizes that her path is unique and that her timing is perfectly suited to her journey. Setting her own pace allows her to prioritize what truly matters to her. No longer is she consumed by the need to check off arbitrary boxes or meet someone else's definition of success. She becomes intentional about where she invests her time and energy. If something doesn't align with her values or bring her joy, she feels no obligation to pursue it. This intentionality is liberating, giving her the space to focus on what fulfills her. She is always going to focus on her vision. This new rhythm also grants her the luxury of slowing down. For so long, life may have felt like a whirlwind, a constant rush from one task to the next, one phase to another. Now she gives herself permission to pause, to breathe, to simply be. In these moments of stillness, she discovers a richness that she may have overlooked in the past. The warmth of the morning sun on her skin, the sound of birdsong, the feeling of a gentle breeze. These small, seemingly mundane moments take on new significance when she allows herself to experience them fully. Slowing down doesn't mean she has stopped striving or dreaming. On the contrary, it allows her to pursue her goals with greater clarity and purpose. By moving at her own pace, she avoids the burnout that comes from rushing or overextending herself. She approaches her aspirations with patience and persistence, understanding that meaningful progress often takes time. Her journey becomes more about the quality of her experiences than the speed at which she achieves her goals. This newfound rhythm also helps her redefine success. She no longer measures it by how much she accomplishes or how quickly she does so. Instead, she views success as living authentically, staying true to herself, and finding joy in the process. She takes pride in the steps she takes, no matter how small, and celebrates the progress she makes, no matter how gradual. Setting her own pace allows her to deepen her relationships as well. She becomes more present with the people she loves, giving them her undivided attention and truly cherishing the time they share. She no longer feels the need to rush through conversations or experiences. Instead, she savors them, recognizing the beauty of connection and the importance of being fully engaged. This shift also helps her let go of unnecessary stress. She stops worrying about whether she's on track or falling behind. She releases the pressure to meet timelines that don't resonate with her or to live up to expectations that aren't her own. This release is like shedding a heavy burden, freeing her to move through life with greater ease and grace. As she embraces her own pace, she becomes more attuned to her intuition. She learns to trust her inner voice, letting it guide her decisions and actions. She no longer feels the need to seek approval or validation from others. Instead, she listens to what feels right for her. This trust in herself builds her confidence and this journey is one of self-discovery and self-acceptance. By setting her own pace, she honors the woman she is and the life she wants to live. She becomes the author of her own story, crafting each chapter with intention and care. And in doing so, she finds a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that she is living not by the clock, not by the calendar, but by the beat of her own heart. More is possible for her. More than anything, this is a memoir. As the years accumulate and life's experiences etch their stories into a woman's being, she begins to view the world differently. The hustle and chaos that once seemed so urgent now appear as mere distractions from what truly matters. In her later years, she finds herself drawn to simplicity, a desire to let go of what no longer serves her and embrace what is essential. As the years go on, this shift toward simplicity is not about sacrificing ambition or living with less out of necessity. It is about finding clarity, peace, and purpose in a life that has often been overcomplicated. In her younger years, she may have felt the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. There were expectations to meet, responsibilities to fulfill, and a sense that she needed to have it all: success, relationships, material possessions, and more. The pursuit of these things was not inherently wrong. In fact, it brought her valuable lessons and moments of joy. But as she grows older, she begins to see that accumulation of things, commitments, and even relationships is not the key to happiness. Instead, she learns that letting go can be just as powerful as holding on. This journey towards simplicity begins with a reassessment of her priorities. She asks herself what truly matters to her, and in doing so, she discovers that much of what she once chased no longer holds the same appeal. She no longer feels the need to keep up with societal standards or to meet the expectations of others. She realizes that her worth is not tied to what she owns or how busy she appears, but to the quality of her relationships, the peace in her heart, and the authenticity of her life. Decluttering becomes a metaphor for this transformation. She starts by letting go of the physical possessions that no longer bring her joy or serve a purpose. Over the years, she may have accumulated items that she once thought were essential: clothes, gadgets, decor, but now she sees them for what they are: things. She releases them with gratitude for the role they played in her life and embraces the freedom that comes with creating space. But her decluttering doesn't stop with physical belongings. She also examines the emotional baggage she has carried. Old grudges, unresolved conflicts, and lingering regrets are no longer welcome in her life. She understands that holding on to these emotions only weighs her down, keeping her tethered to the past. Letting go of them is not about forgetting or dismissing her experiences, but about choosing peace over pain. Simplicity also touches her relationships. Over time, she has come to understand the importance of surrounding herself with people who uplift and inspire her. She no longer feels obligated to maintain relationships out of guilt or habit. Instead, she invests her time and energy in those who truly matter: family, friends, and kindred spirits who share her values and reciprocate her care. This intentional approach to relationships deepens her connections, creating a circle of love and support that nourishes her soul. As she simplifies her life, she begins to savor the beauty of the present moment. Without the distractions of unnecessary possessions, commitments, or emotional burdens, she can fully immerse herself in the here and now. She takes time to appreciate the small, everyday wonders that she once might have overlooked: a sunrise, a kind word, a cup of tea. These moments become her treasures, bringing her joy and grounding her in the present. This simplicity also allows her to focus on what she loves. Whether it's a creative pursuit, a hobby, or simply spending time with loved ones, she finds that removing the noise from her life gives her the freedom to embrace her passions. She no longer feels rushed or pulled in 1,000 directions. Instead, she has the space to pour herself into what truly brings her fulfillment. There's a profound sense of peace that comes with this shift. Simplicity is not about deprivation, it's about abundance, an abundance of clarity, purpose, and joy. By letting go of what no longer serves her, she creates room for what truly matters. Her days become less about doing and more about being. She no longer measures her worth by her accomplishments, but by the richness of her experiences and the depth of her relationships. This journey towards simplicity is also a form of self-care. By prioritizing what is essential and letting go of the rest, she protects her energy and preserves her well-being. She learns to say no without guilt, understanding that every no to something unnecessary is a yes to herself. Her decision to simplify is not a rejection of her past, but a celebration of her present and future. It is a conscious choice to live in alignment with her values, to honor her journey, and to embrace a life of clarity and intention. Through this simplicity, she discovers a profound sense of freedom and fulfillment, a life where she can breathe deeply, live fully, and love authentically. The later stages of life, a woman begins to see herself and the world through a lens shaped by time, experience, and wisdom. As she reflects on the challenges she has faced and the triumphs she has achieved, she recognizes that her journey has instilled a quiet, unshakable confidence in her. She has weathered storms, overcome obstacles, and carried burdens that once felt insurmountable. Through it all, she has emerged with a resilience that cannot be taken from her. And in solitude, she finds a powerful clarity that allows her to embrace her true self without apology. This newfound confidence is not loud or boastful. It doesn't demand attention or approval. Instead, it resides deep within her, a calm and steady assurance that she is enough just as she is. For much of her life, she may have doubted her abilities or questioned her worth. She may have sought validation from others, feeling that her value was tied to their opinions. But solitude has taught her otherwise. It has given her the space to listen to her own voice, to trust her instincts, and to honor her unique journey. In solitude, she has the opportunity to strip away the noise and distractions of the outside world. She no longer feels the need to compare herself to others or to measure her success by external standards. She begins to see herself as a whole person, not defined by her roles, titles, or achievements. She realizes that her worth is inherent, not something she has to prove or earn. This shift in perspective is liberating, allowing her to live authentically and unapologetically. As she spends time alone, she reconnects with her inner strength. She reflects on the moments in her life when she overcame adversity, when she stood tall in the face of challenges, and when she made sacrifices for the sake of others. These moments remind her of her resilience and her ability to adapt and persevere. They serve as proof that she is capable of facing whatever comes her way. This self-awareness bolsters her confidence, grounding her in the knowledge that she is strong and capable. Solitude also gives her the freedom to explore her passions and interests without judgment or expectation. Whether it's rediscovering a forgotten hobby, pursuing a creative endeavor, or simply spending time in nature, she finds joy in doing things that nurture her soul. These moments of self-expression allow her to embrace her individuality and to celebrate the unique qualities that make her who she is. Through this process, she learns to be her own source of encouragement and support. In the past, she may have relied on others to uplift her or to reassure her of her worth. But now she understands that she has the power to affirm herself. She becomes her own cheerleader, reminding herself of her strengths, her accomplishments, and her potential. This self-reliance is not about isolating herself from others, but about building a solid foundation of confidence that is unshaken by external circumstances. The confidence she gains from solitude extends to her relationships as well. She no longer feels the need to seek approval or to conform to others' expectations. Instead, she approaches her connections with authenticity and vulnerability. She sets boundaries when necessary, valuing her own needs and well-being. This self-assuredness allows her to cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. This sense of confidence also empowers her to take risks and embrace new opportunities. In the past, fear of failure or rejection may have held her back, but now she understands that setbacks are a natural part of growth and that they do not define her. She approaches challenges with courage, knowing that she has the strength to learn, adapt, and move forward. Solitude also teaches her the value of self-compassion. She learns to be kinder to herself, to forgive her mistakes, and to celebrate her progress. This compassion strengthens her confidence, reminding her that she is worthy of love and acceptance, both from herself and from others. Through this journey, she discovers a profound sense of empowerment. Solitude has given her the space to reconnect with herself, to embrace her strengths, and to let go of self-doubt. She no longer seeks permission to live her life on her terms. She owns her choices, her path, and her identity with pride and grace. This confidence radiates outward, touching every aspect of her life. It is evident in the way she carries herself, in the decisions she makes, and in the way she interacts with the world. It is a quiet, steady force that guides her forward, allowing her to face each day with resilience and purpose. Through solitude, she has discovered not only who she is, but also the unshakable power that lies within her. In the quiet moments of reflection, a woman in her old age finds a strength that is unyielding, born from the trials she has endured and the wisdom she has gained. Her journey towards solitude is not an escape, but an embrace of her essence, a reclamation of her peace, her passions, and her power. She learns to cherish the beauty of stillness, honor the resilience within her, and celebrate the life she has built on her terms. In solitude, she discovers clarity and purpose. She redefines her values, prioritizes self-care, and sets a pace that aligns with her soul. She simplifies her world, letting go of what weighs her down and holding close what brings her joy. Her solitude becomes a sanctuary where she nurtures her inner strength, cultivates her. Through this journey, she finds freedom, a freedom that comes from knowing she is enough just as she is. Her life, her pace, her choices, each becomes a testament to her unwavering spirit. She stands tall in her solitude, not as someone who is alone, but as someone who has discovered the profound strength of being whole. And in this strength, she reclaims her voice, her power, and her peace, inspiring others to seek the same.